What's up, guys? It's Sam here, and I have an awesome video on the debate for the Democratic candidates that happened last night. We want to know who actually won, not based upon some talking head's opinion, but based upon the actual data. You know, every news organization out there is saying who they think won. Let's look at like the collective. Let's look at what America searches for on Google and YouTube, and rank that, and then see who's the actual winner, not based upon somebody's very limited data set of their fucking opinion. Let's actually go to the source to understand. So, with that being said, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to freaking see you. Alright, so that's exactly what we did. We went to Google Trends, and we looked at Google search volume and YouTube search volume in two different segments. We wanted to understand who got the biggest improvement from before the debate to after the debate. And today it is 6/17 on 12/20/2019. So the debate was last night, around 24 hours ago. So we have two data points to look at to get a baseline before, the 30-day and the 7-day. And then we have two periods to look at afterwards, the 24-hour and the 4-hour. And we have those two segments. We've got the baseline, and then we've got the search volume between the 24-hour mark and now, and the 4 hours ago and now. This way we can see, hey, what was everybody at? What is everybody at now, right? To really understand who fucking won. Because if you look at the news, everybody's got their own fucking opinion about like who won. Let's just look at the data. So I took all of that, stack ranked the candidates in each one of those two time periods, in this 30-day here and the 7-day, and then in the post, the 24-hour and the 4-hour. And I put it into a spreadsheet and came up with this. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are down below. In the comment section, use hashtag Stolt. So in the Q&A section, we can talk about your comment. Okay, so this is interesting. So over here in gray, we have the candidates who were in the debate. And then in white, we have candidates that were not in the debate. And as we mentioned, we have the two time periods before, so that's our baseline, on Google search volume and on YouTube, and then the 24-hour and the 4-hour. So interestingly, the person who benefited the most, right, that's how we're going to define winning, who benefited the most from this debate was the person on the top or somebody in the bottom who was completely irrelevant and started to gain a little bit of attention. Somebody like Amy Klobuchar, right? So that is actually who is most improved. She was on the debate, and that gave her a big boost relative to, say, she's been doing worse than Cory Booker, Tom Steyer, and probably Bloomberg in most situations. So to get the attention where all those players are not on the stage, she actually pulled away with the bigger win in terms of gaining more relevance than the other candidates. So she was the most improved. If you look at Google here, so these are the points. So this is just the average of those two, and this is just the average of those two. So who had the biggest score improvement going down? These are just the stack rankings. So stack ranking 1, Andrew Yang had the highest search volume, right, in the 4-hour period. 2, in the 24-hour period, he was ranked 3rd on the 7-day and 3rd on the 30-day. So that's how that works. So the most improved score is the person who gained the most relevance from this. And on Google, it was Amy Klobuchar. And then when we come over to YouTube, look, she went from 8.5 points down to 7. Lower score is better. So she improved by 1.5 points. Kind of interesting, right? But who was actually like came out on top could be another way how we would define this, right? So who was won in terms of the overall volume? Because that's another way to define who won, and I think that might be more of the route a lot of the talking heads go. So let's take a look at who actually won if we wanted to know the absolute number there. And we see that who had the highest score afterwards was Andrew Yang, tied with Elizabeth Warren. I'm sorry, I actually meant to, Elizabeth Warren has more, and I completely missed this the first time. I have no idea how, but Elizabeth Warren actually improved more than Amy Klobuchar, which is kind of interesting. Completely negates all the shit I just said, and you just can replace Amy Klobuchar's name with Elizabeth Warren. Same thing. She gained the most from this in terms of attention, which is kind of interesting because she was sitting at like that 5th to 6th mark lately. She'd been losing a little bit of ground, so maybe just to have some type of spark of attention with that, that's kind of interesting. So those are the two big winners who came out in terms of like overall growth. Elizabeth Warren had the most overall growth, and she's tied at first with Andrew Yang. So she's kind of won both of those things, and I guess you could say, you know, on Google, if you consider those two as factors, she won both of those, so that could be your overall. Now, over on YouTube, the person who won after was Andrew Yang. He improved his score from 1.5 because he came in second on the 30-day to 1 because he was number 1 in the 24-hour and number 1 on the 4-hour. It looks like Joe Biden lost a little bit of ground while Bernie Sanders gained a little bit of ground, but not enough to change the difference. But relative, because I'm looking at this versus this, you can see that Joe Biden was tied with Andrew Yang in the start on the YouTube search. So like that period before the debate, they were tied for first. After the debate, Joe lost a little bit of ground and or some combination of Andrew Yang gaining ground through the last 24 hours that allowed Andrew Yang to pull ahead at that point. We have Tulsi Gabbard, which is an interesting story too, right? So she lost a lot of spots here on Google, but she wasn't in the debate, but she's still like in the top in terms of like she would have ranked, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She would have been like 5th or 6th. She would have been like right in the middle of the pack here. But there was other stuff that was drawing attention around her. And over on YouTube, she doesn't, because of what's happening with the other stuff, I don't see her losing the same amount of attention as the other characters. Say like Bloomberg or Cory Booker or Julian Castro. Them not being on the stage is going to be very detrimental. Unless they're able to do something to garner attention, they're going to continue to lose attention on a relative basis because the other candidates have so much more and are growing more quickly in terms of their awareness. Now, that was able to be slightly offset for Tulsi Gabbard based upon her vote at the impeachment, which we did a video about if you want to check out the channel. And that was a very, I think, intelligent move. I mean, like, it seems like it came across as authentic. So I think that is going to be really good for her campaign in the long run. The more authentic candidates can come across, like people's bullshit fucking meters are through the roof, and like when somebody's fucking bullshitting, it's pretty fucking obvious. So I think that her bringing that level of authenticity up to the table and trying to level up the conversation seems like it's an intelligent move for her, which gained her a bunch of relevance right before the debate, so that the shift was all about her before the debate even happened. And they had if you look at the actual chart, I don't have it up here right now, but the peak of attention that all the other candidates kind of had, there was a couple of them that had pretty high peaks, right? The level of attention that she had, but it was a couple days beforehand, was about the same. I think hers was slightly less, but it was about the same. And then leading all the way up to it, there was nobody else who had that attention but her. So I didn't see her losing nearly as much ground as anybody else. I'd love to hear what you guys' thoughts are down below in the comment section. If you use hashtag Stolt, then in the Q&A section, just like Springcraft Gamer, what's good, did, we can talk about your comment. So another point you may want to consider: rankings of 1 to 10 skew results. Then averaging the rankings of 4 metrics creates potentially bogus final averages. It would be better, in my opinion, to use the actual values of the different metrics. to do this, you first need to normalize the results for each category, including any weighting of the results. 1 through 2, blah, blah, days metrics for example can be weighted differently. But when one candidate gets 3.4 and another 3.5, assigning them integer rankings distorts their value relative to positions. Again, email me, Ross. Correct. I agree. And I've done the rankings in a couple different ways. Like on the back end, I'm not publishing them just to see like what the difference is. And it was the same. I ranked them based upon I was ranking them differently, but yeah, there's definitely opportunity to find the absolute difference, because if you have somebody off, so what Russ is mentioning here is that if you were to have first place and second place off by a tenth, right? And then third place has, like, say if they're at 1.1 and 1.2, and then third place is at 8.4, there's a big discrepancy in terms of lost value that he's talking about. So what ends up happening is you see these headlines like first through 10, right? But it actually skews the discrepancy between like the absolute values of the scoring system. So trying to come up with a different way of looking at it so that you can try to capture the absolute differences between them is another way to think about how to understand the data. And awesome point there. That's why we try to look at some of the other metrics on some of the other things. We got another comment from Springcraft Gamer. What's good? Wow, the debate rocked the world. Check Google Trends, web, and YouTube for US, then also check out and show the world trends on both for all the candidates. Most amazing is worldwide. Trends for candidates, 24-hour, 1 week time frames. It looks like he is doing entire world is watching. Email me so we can talk directly. My email. What's good, Russ? Yeah, reach out to me anytime, man. So I just put together this one, and I'm actually going to take a look at their website, but I might use a post-debate time frame, because like a week or something, because on their websites, I don't get as micro with the data. They just, I think you need an account or something on Alexa.com in order to be able to see all of the data. I don't have an account on there, so I'm only able to see some limited data, and it's much more of a macro view. So I can't tell intraday where the movement is going at like the current account level that I have. It's free, so if I had the one where I paid for it, there might be some more interesting like dynamics happening during the day around the debate, and like what would have happened, to see which would be really interesting. I'm not sure if it's available, and second, I don't have that membership, if that is a membership that you need, at Alexa.com. I love the feedback, and that somebody else also thinks very, very considerately about understanding the data to a new level than just some of the surface level like nuances that come with data analysis, and that's a fine appreciation that most people don't have. So Ross, thank you for that, because that's something that I definitely appreciate, because that's how I tend to look at things, to really understand in different ways, right, of seeing the data to try to really capture what's going on. So thank you. The next comment is from Ram Omni Chef, I believe is how I pronounce his last name. Could be wrong, but I did ask him. Bloomberg is spending millions on YouTube ads, and we will see if it translates to votes. I don't like when some billionaire jumps in spending millions. They are never really for the people. Yeah, I don't know. I think that a lot of people probably have that opinion, but I also think that there's a lot of people where I tend to be, I can see both sides, where what's beautiful about our system here is that we actually have the capability to do that, right? If somebody does make a lot of money, and they think that they have the plan to be able to move the country in the direction that they feel is the best way to move the country forward, that's going to help the most people, or whatever their prerogative is that's going on upstairs. I think that I think it's a cool thing that anybody can do it. I think that in the past, the people like Bloomberg who had access obviously had a retardedly high probability of like winning over somebody else, right? But I think that's changed, and we are continuing to articulate this through these types of analysis that you don't have to necessarily do that today because anybody has a voice. Where in the past you had to be connected to be able to get your voice out. We have a thing called the internet and things like YouTube where anybody can get their voice out. So something can truly build. Where in the past it was much more challenging to have that happen, but something can truly build from the grassroots now where they don't need the media. I don't think the media is at the same point in time where they had all the power. I don't think that is even nearly the case. I do think they are still tremendous in terms of the influence the mainstream media has, but I think that there's a giant awareness around the complete and utter lack of a North Star in terms of truth with what is said. I just don't. I think that's missing, and I think a lot of the population realizes that mainstream media's North Star in terms of like actually being truthful and not putting a subjective spin on every single fucking possible thing that is reported is probably an intelligent business move for them, but it just doesn't seem to happen, right? For whatever fucking reason. Complete tangent. Dab on that one. So thank you for the comment. Completely got off track on that one. I am actually going to start to probably run some YouTube ads as well. I got to figure out how to run YouTube ads. I'm running ads for my buddy's restaurant and destroying it. So if you guys ever have questions, hit me up. So this is another question from Ram. Thanks again for the explanation of where we need to concentrate with these elections. Like I said, you're the man. Thank you, Ram. I really appreciate the support. And thank you so much for following along. I appreciate anybody who is still with me at this point. Jump over to Instagram. Link is in the description. Or on TikTok. TikTok shit is blowing up. My account has like more than 4x'd in the past about 2 months, maybe a couple days over 2 months. Peace.